Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm just so beyond excited to jump into the conversation. I always try and tell people the pre-show is the best part, and our pre-show did not let me down today. So thank you so much for being here. I know everybody's going to be really excited to hear your story, and I'm just excited to connect and share.
Me too. Me too. I'm super pumped to be here.
Awesome.
Dream come true.
Oh my gosh. Well, likewise. I just love chatting with you. So I always like to start with kind of the origin story, and yours is so unique. So tell us how you got into the industry. Did you dream of doing hair? Did you, grow up knowing you'd be a stylist, or what did it look like joining the industry?
Absolutely not. I dreamed that I would never be a stylist. So actually at 15, my mom, after having an experience at the salon that was not my jam, I started doing my own hair, and that was 13. At 15, my mom's like, "Oh, you're going to be a hairdresser. You're born for it." I was like, "Absolutely not. Hairdressers are dumb, and they work from day up to sundown. I don't want any part of that industry." So I decided to go into education, and then I quickly realized that I like my kids and not anyone else's. And then I did higher ed, and while doing higher ed, one of my friends opened a salon in our downtown, and I helped her with like her branding and her marketing and just talking about how to get her name and face out there, because that's what I did with my current job. One of our friends got married. She ran behind and she was like, "Hey, do you think you can help?" And I was like, "Well, show me the picture." And she showed me the picture, and I slayed it. And probably the next 6 months, she harassed me about going to hair school. She was like, "You just have a gift for this. Like, you're great with people. Like, you could do this." And I was like, "No, ma'am. I'm already got student loan debt. I don't want any debt from hair school." So we started doing research. And we found, she was like, "Well, maybe you can do an apprenticeship." And I was like, "Well, what's that?" And she was like, "You'll learn under me. It'll be double time. But I think between both of us and our commitment and being older," I think I was 26, "that we can do this." So we decided, we did all the paperwork, and I did an apprenticeship. What was really cool about that is that I actually managed the salon while I did my apprenticeship. So people always say I'm a hairstylist with a business mind. So it allowed me to really understand the systems within business. And so I stayed with her probably 4.5 years before deciding to branch out on my own, and really dive into building a brand behind Chrystal L. And I did that. And so I have been in the industry now 11 years, and I have been doing education since 2014.
Just absolutely incredible. And I kind of love that you fought the calling to the industry and it kept coming back to you like, "Nope, we're going to get you. So we'll be patient, but you will come to us." And I mean, what a blessing that it's been. Like, we needed you and now you're here. For those of us who don't know what an apprenticeship is, can you break it down? So an apprenticeship is an alternative to going to cosmetology school, the traditional, you register, you clock in, you clock out, teachers are there, that very traditional thought of cosmetology school. What did your apprenticeship look like?
Not like that. So it was very structured. So we had days that I was at the salon, which was pretty much every day. And then I had book work day. And so one thing about us that we agreed to was that I would do a lot of the book work and reading on my own. And then we would meet once a week and go over theory or questions that I had. And then I did all of the hands-on. So when it first started, I worked on mannequin heads. I did all the shampooing. I picked up all the hair. I greeted everybody. So that was like the grunt work. And then I will never forget, back then there was, in our town, we had a Groupon type deal called the ad sheet. And so I was like, I am sick of working on mannequin heads, And so we ran an ad sheet for a cut and highlight for $39. I sold 93 of the 39, and I did 87 haircuts and highlights in 60 days. I became the highlighting queen. And that's why I love color, because I made a whole lot of mistakes. So the apprenticeship in Missouri is 3,000 hours.
Wow.
So it's double. So and then you have to do everything. So it's a little harder because you have to have the system in place, because you have to keep all your hours. You have to turn in all your hours. State board literally shows up every single month to check your timesheets, to make sure everything is clean. So it is, and then because I feel like a lot of times with hair schools, you traditionally take the test a lot, right? You take the practical over and over again. You got your time right, you know, your sanitation. Well, we did that 0 times until it was time to go take state board, and my little low self, you know, go rolling in there. And I'm like, this is going to be great. Like my kit wasn't set up like properly to, you know, to pull out everything fast. I had never been timed to do anything. So I was like, you know, a hot mess. And I did not pass my practical the first time. Passed my theory with flying colors. I did not pass my practical. And lucky enough, like I love my community of hairdressers around me. So I meet a lot of people. And there was a girl that I had met at one of the hair schools. And she had her instructor's license. And I just called her and I was like, hey, Veronica, I failed. I would love for you to walk me through state board. I will pay you. So we walked through one. She helped me set my kit up. And then I'm a person that if I do something right before, then like it's fresh in my mind. So we did it the night before, we ran through it again. And then I walked in and I went in and I passed my practical with a 97%. So yes. So if you don't make it the first time, don't give up. Don't give up.
That's right. And I mean, we could go deep into the problems with education in our industry, but I had a little PTSD when you were talking about not having your kit set up right. I was like, oh my goodness, the Ziploc baggies and specific combs and like the actual way you're supposed to prepare is so different than how you would practically ever do hair in a salon setting, which is wild because you were essentially a talented, already proven successful hairstylist going in to kind of check the box and do your state board exam. And yet you failed because systemically you didn't have the Ziploc bags with every single comb inside and you weren't set up to literally take just the exam. It's just such a wild system.
Yes, it's very interesting. I don't understand it. And I think a lot of stylists get discouraged because they are super talented. And then they get in there and they don't do well. And then they're like, well, maybe this is not what I meant to do, especially if they've had naysayers before. But I'm like, girl, this is what you're meant to do. Go, keep going, hire somebody, practice more, like for sure.
And I hope that people took note of that, of you failed and you immediately went and said, okay, I need to find somebody who has done this before, who is experienced in this. I need to find a mentor to get me through this process. And then you pass with flying colors. I just think that's such a great life hack that we often forget to go to. Just because you fail doesn't mean you're inadequate. It means you need to find somebody who can give you a leg up and get you to where you need to be.
And that's my philosophy on everything. When I even branched out to start my own thing, the first thing I did was got a business coach, you know, and when I first went out, I did booth rental and it was in a space with like 2 other girls. And I never intended on owning a salon, like ever, not ever, didn't want one. I went to Salon Genesis to buy, they were closing. I was buying a magazine rack and a child seat. And I talked to Carolyn for about 45 minutes and she walked me out to my car and she was like, have you ever thought about opening a salon? I was like, I thought about it. I ain't got no money. I don't have any, like, you know, banks don't give small business owners loans to start your dreams. Like that doesn't happen. And she was like, well, what if I gift you everything? And I said, well, then I would think about having a salon. And she was like, everything that's left from this moment on, I will stop and sell. And if you want it, it's yours. So I was like, let me go home and think about it. My first 2 calls was to one of my clients who had been with me since I was an apprentice off of the big deal. She owns a very successful allergy and asthma place here. I said, hey, I would love to talk to you about this opportunity that I have. We meet. I tell her what's going on. I was like, but my thing is that I always say what works well. Corporate. Why does corporate work well? Because they have systems. And so I was like, I want to be fully branded. I want to have systems. I want to onboard my people. I want to do all of these things. And it's going to cost me this much money. But I was like, but I don't even know if it's worth it. And she was like, you know, I believe in you and I will gift you this money. You write me an amortization form of how you're going to pay it back over the next 2 years and it's yours. So that was like check number 1. Check number 2 was a client of mine who was a coach. I told her and she was like, I will onboard every single one of your staff. I will write your handbook. I will be with you for the first year for free because I believe in you. And so that's how Chrystal L Hair Makeup was born. So that is when I opened up my very first like brick and mortar. So I, again, did the booth rent thing and then really never wanted to have employees or have an apprentice or do any of that. But Carolyn walking me to my car, like gifted it to me. And so my mom's boyfriend came in and painted and everything was there, the stations, the sinks. I made zero investment in reference to like the big thing. So then again, it was the industry saying, this is where you're supposed to be.
Completely. And I know it already. People are going to listen to that and they'll say, oh, so Chrystal got lucky. And never once when you were speaking did I believe you got lucky for a second. When you were speaking, I heard that first of all, you show up with drive and passion. And I can tell instantly the way you present yourself and the way that you speak to people and the way that you nurture relationships builds opportunity for you. And you don't do those things as an opportunist. You just walk through life with this amazing mindset. And I think about being in Carolyn's position and sitting there speaking with you, and probably something in her heart was like, this is the woman who is supposed to own this salon. And those clients who said, I'm going to fund this for you because I know you're going to be amazing. None of that is luck. That is all because of everything that you had done leading up to that point. Like you didn't even know exactly where you were going. Like you said, you didn't seek out owning a salon, but it's like you consistently in life lay the foundation for success. And you're now able to like reap the fruits of that labor.
I truly believe that. People always say, I'm a karma person. And so I believe like you get back what you put out into the universe. And I do things because that's what I enjoy doing. That's what brings me joy. And I think that's why the joy comes back to me. And I think it's the whole world is all about connecting. And I think we've forgotten that. And connecting just for the sake of getting to know people, people's stories, I always say there's no one that you're going to meet that doesn't offer something that you can learn from. So like, even if you're like, oh, I'm really not interested in hearing what, just hear it, because there may be something that clicks to you that you're like, oh man, I didn't even think about it that way in that way. Yep. So yeah.
I love that. Okay. So let's fast forward a tiny bit. So you're in the salon. It's just you in there when you go in, or what does it look like?
It's just me. It's literally just me in there. No one else is there. And so I now start buying stuff, right? So I remember going to Sally's to get my wax pot. And I walk into Sally's and there's a girl at the desk. Her name is Sasha. And I'm like, hey, can you help me? And so she helps me. And I'm like, oh my God, your layers are fire. Like, I don't know who cuts your hair, but you have beautiful hair. And she was like, I do. And I was like, well, have you ever thought about doing hair? And she was like, well, I got my nail license and I want to do hair, but I wanted to get established with that first. And I was like, well, have you ever thought about doing an apprenticeship? Because I could totally bring nails into my space. You can make money on that. And then you can learn how to do hair under me. And she was like, well, let's talk about it. And so we literally talked about it. I used what I had learned in my apprenticeship, what worked well, and then brought her in. She did a full apprenticeship. She still works next to me. This is 6 years later. She's fully licensed. She does all hair. And so like that relationship was born. And then the next stylist that came on was a girl who cut my hair. I have short hair. She cut my hair. I often went to her. I remember when I was telling her about the opportunity and she told me nothing beats a failure except to not try, Miss Marsha. And for some reason, she just called me one day and she was like, I heard you're opening a space and I just want to be wherever you are.
Wow.
And I was like, well, why? And she was like, there's just something about you. And one thing about me, whenever I bring someone in, I always ask them, what is it that you want to do? Like, what's your dream? And she was like, I want to create a beard line. And I always do that because I feel like personally, if you work for me for more than 5 years, I picked the wrong person. And I say that because I offered booth rent within my space. So if you come in and you're a commission stylist under me, this is just my personal thoughts, and you're still under me in 5 years, you don't have enough motivation to be in my space. I'm not saying it in a mean way, and even if you're like, hey, Chrystal, I found this. I had another girl came. She was like, I found this great opportunity down the street. It's going to be my own space. I think that's what I want to do. Absolutely. When your lease is up, you can absolutely go there. How can I help you? Because we all have dreams. And I don't want people to live in my dream all the time. I want them to dream big, and I want them to know that I'm here to support you dreaming big, so that because somebody did it for me. So that was the makeup of my first space.
Okay, I love this. And as you were speaking, I kept thinking, she pays it forward. She pays it forward. Like amazing opportunities open up for you. And then you in return, always, it seems like, go back and say, how can I do this for somebody else? As you're speaking, I hear it coming full circle over and over. And the other thing that stuck out to me is the way you lead your team, because so many owners will say, well, I don't want someone to abandon me, or how could she leave me after all that I've done for her? And I love your twist on that mindset of, if you've been working with me, if you've been working under me for 5 years, I picked the wrong person. Because you first of all, you want big things for the people who are in your building. That's why you brought them there. You want them to live big lives, and you want them to create that on their own. You don't want to hold them down. You don't want to feel like you're the puppeteer in their success. You want them to rise to the top. Yeah. And instead of looking at like, how do I keep control? You say, how do I let you fly? I just love that.
Yeah. And that's all. I mean, that's my philosophy on everything that I do.
Yeah, I love that. Now, okay, so Sasha's worked with you for quite some time. Have you hired another apprentice, and or would you?
So no, I have not, and I would not. And only because now where I'm at in my career, I've progressed. So we were in that space. We had the opportunity to move to a nicer space and go into like full out booth renting scenario. So that is the space that we're in now. So we are all full booth renters. Everybody is completely branded by themselves. However, we help each other. If I can't get a client in and I'm going to be at it. It's like when I went to Turkey, I was like, hey, like it was very sudden. And I was like, all my guests know Sasha. I'm like, hey, I gotta go. Either you can go further out of my books or you can go with Sasha. Happily go with Sasha. So now we're in a completely different space. I wrote down all of my curriculum that I use for my apprentice because I'm a process person. And the one thing that I've learned in my career is that when you start out by yourself, write down everything. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but like write down how you open up every day, write down everything. And so that when you start to get busy and want to bring someone on and you want to onboard them, you have that procedure already written down, and it's not work. Because I hear a lot of stylists be like, well, I don't want to bring someone in because I have to train her. And then it's like, well, if you wrote it down, at least they have a foundation of steps, and then they can watch you do it. And then it makes training a little bit easy versus like you trying to tell them every single step of every single thing that you do. Mm-hmm. So I wrote down everything for an apprentice program that I will one day hopefully package into some awesome course or something. But I will not have an apprentice just because of where I want to go next in my career.
Okay. And that was a little gold nugget for everybody. Chrystal was okay closing a successful door or putting a pin in it, knowing that she's leveling up. She's moving on to another level. There's not a place and space for that success right now, but she'll revisit it. And she's okay saying no to that so that she can say yes to other things, which I think is so powerful. I want to make a very slight left, and I want to talk about Bold Academy for a minute. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that came out of being in the salon space. Like, I grew up with a program like Bold, but it was not, there was no real structure to it. It wasn't an organization. It was just a woman in my neighborhood. And this is what she did for us. And so what I started to notice in my town is that I would have women that sat in my chair who had daughters or granddaughters who felt like, even though we have 5 colleges or universities in our backyard, that was not an option for them as Black and brown girls. And I would meet women who were doctors and engineers. And, my dream clients are high earners who have disposable income, who want to be in the shop and have to look good, right? So that is who I saw. And so what I noticed, I would literally write down, okay, she would be great for this and she would be great for that. And I literally brought all of those women in a room and I said, hey guys, I want to start some sort of program where we can help girls get into some sort of post-secondary education. Will you help me? So my first one was my co-founder, Dr. Melita Walker. And she at the time was a principal of a high school. And I was like, I don't know anything about education, but I knew I wanted to have education based. And I knew that it was for the girls in Columbia, Missouri in our education. So she had that in, and I knew that she would be a great partner to me. So then we sat down and we started to create what that program looks like. So BOLD is for girls aged 12 to 17, and our goal is to help them pipeline into post-secondary education by exposing them and helping them build social and economic equity. So basically, helping them see that there are women in their backyards who are doing amazing things, and they can also obtain that. And let me show you how to get there. So we have an academy every summer at a different college campus, because that was the goal, right? So we have 5. So I want them to be able to see, if Columbia College is not for you, then maybe Stevens, the all women's is. And if that's not, maybe Mizzou. So we went, we would go, first time it was 8 days. 8 days on campus. They study art, STEM, dance, history, and leadership and team building. And then my favorite part is we set up a 529 college fund for every single girl. And so when they come to our monthly meetings, they get money deposited into their account. When they volunteer in the community, they get money deposited into their account. So if you come in at 12, by the time you graduate, you've got a nice pretty penny to use for any post-secondary education or trade school. So I always, like, my counterparts are like, and they're always like, and Chrystal, and I'm like, or trade school. Because traditional 4 years not for everybody, and you can be successful and lucrative and build your dreams with a technical degree as well. I am here to show you and prove it, and prove it. So we are 5 years in. We have 100% success rate, which means that every single girl who has went through our program, who has graduated, has went on to college with scholarship money. So
I have chills just hearing you say that. This is such a beautiful program.
Thank you.
Do you have, when you say you have 100% success rate, have you seen young women join at 12 and stay, and every single summer they're coming back? Wow.
And then and also every single one who has graduated has went on to college in our backyard.
Wow.
So
wow.
And then what's cool is then their little sisters come in, right?
Yes.
And then you're able to build, like, and one of research shows that, like, if you have a sibling or a neighbor who is doing something, you want to aspire to be that. So we're helping also, like, have families who not only have first generation college students, but now second and third, and know how to get there, and then have a sibling who can navigate that with them and talk to them about, the do's and don'ts of going on to college. So yeah, it's been amazing.
So tremendous. About how many girls are able to join each year, and what is the process for them applying, joining the program? What does that look like?
So we take 15. So it's so funny, when we started, we went 44 girls. Now our program, when we started, it was like 44 and 3 people, like, managing the camp. Thank God it was 20. And we always laugh and we say that it is like 3 women with 11 kids among us running a program through. That's how it was when we started. Now we've got systems in place and we have great community support. So it's a lot different now. But we take 15 girls. It opens up every April. They have to go online and they have to apply. There's a component of, like, what do you want to be? What's your future? They write an essay, and then we actually interview every single person. And we interview them so that we can really get to know them. I always say that, like, bold girls are a different kind of girl. Like, we want girls that are really wanting to get to the next level, but just don't know how. And then we want to create a space where they can help each other. So they're all over our city. So we like to create pods for the girls, like, within your school. And now that people are like, oh, what? And now, even with virtual, we still meet every second Saturday of the month virtually. We have virtual programs. We still stay connected with them. When COVID hit, we had a counselor come in and talk about how you're feeling, having to do virtual education. We had someone come in and talk about how to use your planner. How is virtual going to be different? We had someone from the school district come and show them how to use the online platform. And when we found out that they were not going to go back to school, we actually created a pod. So we have a pod where our bold girls actually go every day, safely with COVID. My mom, I conned my mom, and she was doing a career change to open a nonprofit. And I was like, so you're at home So you should come to this pod every day and be like the supervisor. So she supervises the pod, and then we bring in a woman who's a retired educator. And then they're going to school online. So really they plug in, but we just wanted the extra support. And some of our families don't have, can't do 3 meals a day. Like, so we provide food. And it was just an opportunity to give these girls more support in a difficult time. So that is what Bold looks like in 2021.
You're just absolutely incredible. And for the record, Chrystal's also a mother. She's a wife. She's doing all of these things and she makes them all look so effortless. I'm just in complete awe of you, for the record. Systems for the win. Something that I love that you said was when you were talking about the application process in the interview, I think about myself at 12 or my own daughter at 12. And even if somebody was to go through this and not be accepted, going through that process of listing out what you want for your life and what you're going through and going through that interview is such a blessing. Like, even the person who just sits in that interview and unfortunately is not selected, you've even gifted those young women such a life set that nobody else is offering. I just think it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to shift one more time and talk about, you also educate here for us in the industry. So can you tell us a little bit about AHA?
Yes. So I have a program called All Hair Academy. It is a 5-week mastermind course. It is for stylists who are looking to attract a diverse clientele and be confident working with all hair textures. So it's 5 weeks long. We cover everything from how do you brand yourself as a stylist that does all hair to make sure your brand is inclusive. We talk about networking. We talk about brand shoots. I think brand shoots are the most popular subject. And then we do 2 full weeks of hands-on learning about the 4 major textures, 4 major categories of hair texture. And then the last one is social media and planning.
So beautiful. So I was looking at your website earlier and it just made me smile and have all the feels. One of my favorite graphics you have on here is hair is like the stock market. You must diversify your portfolio to be successful.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I will honestly say, I remember being in the salon. I was licensed in 2007. I went to a salon where every woman who came in was a white woman for the most part. And there were a couple of occasions where somebody would come in with textured hair and truly be sent away. And I can remember there was like sadness, awkwardness from the team as a whole. It was like a thing like, oh my goodness, this woman came in, we had to send her away. And it was like, there was embarrassment, but then I was like, well, that's just how it goes. And then life went on. Like, I look back and I think, what the heck were we thinking? But that was truly, and then the day just went on and everybody went forward and nothing changed at all. And then I think about that poor women who were sent out our door saying, you don't fit in here. We don't know what to do with you. The amount of pain that would cause upon a person, it blows my mind to look back now. And I think about myself and people who were in that position and maybe think like, well, what if I don't have any clients who are diverse? Do I still need to do this? Is it important for me to learn textured hair? And what is your response to that?
So my response is, I would say yes. However, I always say that we have a choice and we have to think about where we want to go with our careers. What do we aspire to be? Are you going to have a client that walks into your shop with textured hair? In 2021, the world is becoming increasingly diverse. If you want to be a 6-figure stylist or an educator or a platform artist, you should have the basic skills to work with anyone that walks into your door, no matter who you are on both sides holistically as a hairstylist. If you are a platform artist or educator, you should absolutely understand and know how to work with every single hair texture that you are an expert in. If you do balayage, then you should do balayage on fine, straight, curly, kinky, coarse hair. You should understand that, because when I am sitting in your room taking your education class and I ask you, my client has wavy hair, would I do the same technique? Do I do the sections the same? If you can't tell me that, then ultimately you didn't do your job.
And when you share that, have you been in that position?
Absolutely. I've been in the position where I'm not the person asking, someone else is asking, and then the educator is looking at me to be like, well, you're of color, so I'm sure you know the answer to this. Maybe Chrystal can help us out. Literally, like more than one time. Yeah. So it is very common. And I also say that we are becoming a very diverse world. And so a lot of what's interesting and how I've been able to like really grow and grow fast is that I would have a client who would come in who would be bringing, my son has curly hair, right? They would be bringing their son in who was like 7 to work on, for me to work on their curly hair. And then she would be like, you know, I saw on your Facebook that like you do blondes. And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, well, are you taking new clients? Yes. Oh, well, now we can all come here, right? So I can do your son, I can do your daughter, I can do you. And now I don't have to go to 2 different places for someone to do my hair or to do my family's hair. So that's one of the big things I say moving forward. Like, think about that. Think about how many multiracial kids there are in the world today. Like when you have the mom that comes in and she's like, I have no clue what to do. Like if you're a stylist and you're like, I can do your hair, but I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to send you down the street to Chrystal. Well, when they come in and she's like, wait, you can do me and my daughter? Well, we're just going to go over here because we can come together and it's a mother-daughter experience. So I just say to stylists out there, ask yourself, like, where do you want your career to go? What do you want to do? And then how do you want to make the people feel that walk in your door? Like, do you want to make everybody feel welcome? Do you want everybody to, and yeah, I mean, I think that, let's pause there. So hold on, I'm gonna go back. Yeah. Okay.
You're good.
So I asked the stylist, like, what do you want your experience to be? Do you want everybody to feel welcome? That's the question I would have stylists ask themselves. And that would be my answer to, should everybody?
I love that. I want you to explain to us just a touch more about how we can find out more about All Hair Academy. I know you say it's a revolutionary mastermind, which I have so many feelings about that word. I love this, with 5 intimate weeks of laser focused training and discovery. And from what I know about your program, it sounds so unique. I've never heard anything quite like what you've created, because it is a virtual program. People can do this from home. However, there's a real camaraderie of those who go through your program, and they get to connect with you and get some feedback. So when will All Hair Academy be opening up again? How do we learn more about it?
So we open up again March 1st. And I will tell you that it sold out in 24 hours the last time. So I do 12 spots, because the whole point is for it to be a mastermind, for us to be able to talk. It's a no judgment zone. I show up live every single week. You get assignments, you get homework, you turn them in. I grade them. When we do the technical portions, it's actually, you'll be able to do it hands-on. You can videotape yourself. I'll tell you like ways that you can improve, what you did well. And so it will open up March 1st. You can join my wait list at allhairacademy.com. And yeah, is that it?
That's it. Chrystal, you are, I mean, we could keep going. How much time do you have today? You are just absolutely amazing. Such an inspiration. So heart-centered, so driven, so motivating to everybody. I'm just so grateful for your time today. Where can we hang out with you on social media? Where's the best place to get in touch?
The best place to get in touch with me is on Instagram. You can find me at Chrystal Hair and Makeup. It's CHRYSTAL, and is spelled out. And then you can go over to the website, like I said, at allhairacademy.com to join the wait list for All Hair Academy, or I am launching a new one-on-one shadow program because I'm getting a lot of people who are wanting to come. So depending on how you feel, you can actually come work with me a day, and we gear it toward what you want to learn.
I love that. Chrystal, you are absolutely amazing. Until next time, friend, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.